The RX-104FF Penelope appeared in the novel Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway's Flash, and is expected in the upcoming Hathaway's Flash movie coming in the following year. The Penelope was the final product of Project Zeta, and despite its large size, apparently excelled in aerial combat. The High Grade Penelope is a massive, intimidating mobile suit that is head and shoulders above other suits. Seriously, those shoulders are huge. Hello everyone and welcome to New Type Advantage. Today we are taking a look at the High Grade Penelope Gundam. The Penelope is one of the largest high grade kits released and will overshadow just about anything else on your shelf. I absolutely adore large out of the ordinary style suits, so the Penelope is right up my alley. The Penelope's box is no different than the suit. Here's the box compared to a standard sized high grade box, now a standard sized master grade box. And on top of that, it's not just large, it's quite thick too. Hell, you can fit 2 master grade boxes inside of it. Now, the Penelope is comprised of 2 different parts, the Odysseus Gundam and the flight unit. They combine to make the Penelope and all of its towering glory. Let's talk about the build. When I first opened the box, I found a staggering 19 runners and a 35-page build manual. I was more than a little bit intimidated. But the build went together with ease. I built the Odysseus and most of the flight unit in one night, and I finished it the next night. I had a great time building it, and the kit is very well designed. One additional point of note here, the parts are placed on the runner very intelligently. Take a look at runner K here. One half of the runner is made of parts for the Odysseus. The other half are parts for the flight unit, meaning that if Bandai wants to, they could very easily separate the runners and just release the Odysseus as a standalone mobile suit. The articulation is an interesting point with the Penelope. The Penelope itself has some fairly poor articulation. With it being such a large and chunky suit, with plenty of additional armor panels, it's understandable that the articulation isn't great. It can't pose very well and struggles to pose its arms and legs. The legs are also very floppy and don't like to stay put. It slides around quite a lot, and the legs often try to come out from under it. The addition of the flight unit also makes it back heavy, so posing is very tricky. The Penelope also has a flight mode transformation. It's fairly simple and mostly moves around some of the panels in the arms. It's quite an interesting flight mode, and I think it's pretty well designed. Though it does have some floppy legs, even when you tuck them underneath for the flight mode, there are some pegs for the legs to clip into in order to not fall out. Now, I want to talk about the Odysseus Gundam. Once you separate it from the flight unit, the Odysseus is almost entirely different from the Penelope. The Odysseus has great articulation and can pull off plenty of dynamic poses. Additionally, while the Penelope is quite floppy due to its size, the Odysseus is solid as a rock. Look at this. I'm shaking this just about as hard as I've shaken a kit before, and it ain't moving. That's just downright impressive. I'm sure there are plenty of people that would love to buy just the Odysseus on its own, so hopefully Bandai can do this in the future. While I do love the Penelope, I do plan on displaying it in the 2 forms from now on. The Penelope looks quite nice. The color scheme is very fitting for the kit. The white color looks great, and it blends nicely with the yellow, red, and dark blue. It gives quite a nice spin on the normal Gundam color scheme. Additionally, there aren't many color correcting stickers. There are a few, but nothing atrocious. The only part I'm not a huge fan of are the legs on the Odysseus. They are plain white pretty much the entire way down, so they don't look very interesting. The upside, however, is they have plenty of surface detail to panel line. Speaking of, there is a large amount of surface detail all over the kit, giving plenty of opportunity to panel line. I do recommend panel lining as you build the kit, however. I ended up building most of it before realizing that I should panel line it, and since it's such a large and cumbersome kit, panel lining it can be tricky and challenging. The Penelope doesn't have a ton of accessories with it. The Penelope only has a couple of extra hands, a beam rifle, and the wrist shields. The wrist shields are also beam sabers, and the obvious accessory here is the flight unit. It can be separated from the Penelope and displayed separately. It looks pretty darn great on its own, and I prefer it as a standalone unit compared to being attached to the Penelope. I really do love the Penelope. It's such a large and intimidating suit. I mean, it's hard to overstate the scale. I had to cobble together a new filming setup in order to film it properly. Plus, look at it compared to other 1:144 scale kits. Here it is next to the RG Crossbone. Now the High Grade Granddad. Now the High Grade New, for a taller High Grade. And lastly, the wonderful Core Gundam. I mean, it's huge, it's awesome, and it's everything I was hoping for when I first saw it announced. I love unique Gundam designs that stray from the typical Gundam style. This perfectly embodies that. The High Grade Penelope has a lot going for it. For a high grade, it has a wonderful amount of surface detail and part separation. It really grabs your eye when it's sitting on the shelf and stands out among high grade kits. While the articulation is not very good in the Penelope form, when you separate it into the Flight Unit and Odysseus, it really stands out. The Odysseus has a wonderful articulation, and the Flight Unit looks like a super sweet dragon. Now, with that being said, I want to give the Penelope a more unique rating this time around. I give the Penelope as a whole a B. The large kit of the Penelope is great, very eye-catching, and it just is wonderful sitting on a shelf. However, the slippery legs are the thing that really holds me back from giving it a higher rating. It takes a good amount of tinkering to get it to stand right. It'll either flop over or do the splits without you wanting it to. Now, when you separate it out into the Odysseus and the Flight Unit, I have to give this an S. The Flight Unit looks so amazing and unique. The Odysseus is a high-class high grade. Both have so much going for them, and they look wonderful. Lastly, I will say, it does take up a lot of space, and many people aren't going to be fond of the design. So before you go out and buy it, make sure you have the space and like the design of the Penelope. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.